what motivate a lot of it is like I just feel awesome. Like I can go play golf and not feel like I'm gonna get hurt. Like it's a super nice thing. And so
I love
like I said,
it.
I sent you that message before the tournament. I ended up losing to the guy who was a guy who was playing great, really good dude who he ended up winning the whole thing this year. And I barely lost to him in what was probably his best round of the year. And but I'm like, I don't care because I feel good and I'm just
That's
playing more golf.
awesome.
So it's
But
nice.
that's huge, like
Yeah.
that's huge. I wish like everyone could listen to us right now, because most of the time we just focus on this like bigger goal that we set ourselves. Like for example, winning, right? And
Yeah.
then if you
Yeah.
don't win, you feel and you think that you lost everything and like you just
Yeah.
shit and everything just doesn't make any sense. But like you seeing a massive win, even though you technically lost,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
It's
mean,
huge.
it's interesting that obviously I love winning, but I'm like winning for me comes from like getting to compete. And so like not being able to compete is the worst thing. And so like now
Exactly.
I feel like, oh, I like just being in competition, the feeling, because the older you get, one of the things that, it dawned on me at some point in my life is like you don't something you take for granted when you're young, like
Exactly.
competition and what that feels like. And so golf is the main way I do that. I'm always competing with myself to a degree in pretty much
I love
everything
it.
I do. But yeah, I'm
And
I'm
that's why
I'm
you
super
are where you
happy.
are,
Yeah.
because you set yourself, little goals and you just follow through.
Yeah.
So through your hard work. So hats off to you for sure. But that's definitely like why I wanted to jump on this call because I really wanted to hear from you, because obviously it was like a little test for both of us, right?
Yeah.
Because last year, obviously, that's why you ended up with me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so now you're saying like even though you lost, you still got to like a certain point, right? But then obviously like your opponent was probably like super, super like well prepared, just like you, right?
Mhm.
But in terms of like being ready and feeling good and not fearing like because you must have gone into that competition also having that in the back of your mind, right? Like in the back of your head, it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh yeah.
it did happen last year,
Yeah.
right?
No, yeah, it's
But
me and it's like it's been a multi-year thing for me of sort of recurring back problems. And so like even going into this event, like my buddies were like, oh, hopefully you get through it this year because it's so much at once, or it can be if you keep winning. And like it's just everybody that I play with can see the difference just in me. And yeah, it's I guess again, I feel it myself. And then it's always fun when you hear people like, oh man, you haven't, missed anything. You haven't missed any of like our, like the weekend group matches and stuff that I play on a pretty regular basis with my friends. And so yeah, like my buddy who I went and played with in this charity thing on Monday, we were talking about it a bunch of the time while we were out there. I'm like, yeah, I'm like ready to roll. And so he and I are planning trips together for this fall. Like, hey, we're gonna go here, we're gonna go there. That's it's I'm gonna go meet that coach again for like a bunch of intensive like work on my swing.
yeah.
And yeah, the cool
Is
part
it the
for me
same
is
coach
like
from last year? Sorry, not last year. It was this year, I think.
yeah, the guy out in
Nice.
San Diego, like he's gonna be on the East Coast at a golf resort, and so I'm gonna go down and see him, bring the family. But yeah, for me, it's like again, one of the things, like you said, one of the things that's always served me well in pretty much everything I do is I can divorce a current result from like the direction that I know I'm heading. And so like I'm excited because I'm actually very excited for this off season when I'm playing a little less golf to like
Mhm.
advance more stuff. Like because I'm trying to do the weightlifting regularly, but it's harder for me to fit in with all the stuff that I have going on right now. And then I don't want to push and get sore right before I play golf because that doesn't work. And
Definitely.
so I'm actually really
Very
looking
smart as
forward
well.
to, yeah, I'm looking forward to playing a bunch and then having the off season to go, build myself up even stronger for next year.
Exactly. And then focus, because we're going to have time to focus on the little details, right?
Yeah,
When you play a little bit less, right? Because yeah, when I saw
yeah,
that 4 hours of golf, I was like, wow, this is really intense.
yeah,
So
yeah,
on the day of the competition, how did you deal with like that stress? Did you have that in the back of your mind? Like, I really want to understand the thought,
yeah.
like what was going on in your head, or were
Mm,
you like really confident, like you go in and you know what you need to do, you know that
yeah,
you've been working hard on it, strengthening
yeah.
everything that we've been together.
Yeah, to be honest, like the day of, I mean, before I went out, I thought about it insofar as I'm super focused on like warming up and activation and kind of like how I'm feeling going into it. And then
Awesome.
when I'm playing, my goal is to think as little as possible about like just play and sort of focus on shots I'm trying to hit. Typically what would happen is I'll make a swing and then I know like that's the kind of swing that can cause a problem. Like if I don't move right, then I know the forces usually are winding up in my back or something like that. And I didn't, I maybe had one swing where I was like, that wasn't a great swing, but then immediately I'm kind of like checking in on my body, like really paying attention. And I felt nothing from like a discomfort or anything perspective. And so I was like, it gave me even more confidence to like keep going and swinging hard and fast the way I want to be able to. So it was, yeah, like it was a super fun match. And then honestly, I went and because I felt so good, I was like, I went and practiced, for a while afterwards. So,
Yeah.
and practice is usually a thing that I don't do as much because it's way more swings than when you're playing, right? You're playing, it's 40-ish full swings spread out across 4 or 5 hours. There's lots of chipping and putting and stuff. I go practice, I probably after that round, I probably went and hit maybe 150 shots, just working through, kind of trying to advance my swing again.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, it's a super comfortable thing. It's like fun to realize in the moment, hey, I don't feel or worry about this. And then
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely focus on it a lot, like before I go play though, like because
I love
my
this.
warm up thing, I'm spending a lot of time on. I've definitely been enjoying uh like all the different tweaks that you made. The ankle rocking thing is a thing that I really like a lot. Like it feels particularly good for that, for that thing that I was sharing. And then before I play, I'm looking at this thing behind the phone, like that vibration plate. I've started spending more time like taking some of like this lunge things or different things that you give me to do, and I like play around with that thing. Like I'm tinkering with what does
Awesome.
this feel like? What does that feel like? How does this feel? And
I
so
just
yeah,
have to
like I'm
say it here, because for me, first thing is your self-reflection right now. Like I'm just sat here, just like listening to you just telling me what you did, right? Like on that day, the day before, the day after, whatever. And to me, this is like the biggest achievement of ours, because we weren't on a call. I wasn't telling you like do this, do that before,
yeah,
whatever, right? Like you took everything that we've been doing this whole time. And even like when I tell you do one lunge, maybe you're gonna do zero or two because now
yeah,
you know what's actually better, And for me, this is like so cool and so important. We just don't really realize like this is the goal, right? Like the
yeah,
freedom. Like you just okay, I know what I need to do, Maybe if with a little bit of guidance, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna try that, and
yeah.
then here you go. Like not worrying about like, oh my God, what now?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, it's super nice, and I wanted to tell you it was like a funny story. The guy who I started doing the weightlifting with, he
Hmm.
was like, "Oh, like, do you have this?" And so I was like, "I need to show this guy a video of my home gym so he can understand like the options that I have." And I couldn't find one, so I wound up showing him. It was like one of the videos that I was sending to you, but it had like a good view of the gym, and it was like the kettlebell pass through in like that in the lunge position. And he's like, forget about the gym. He's like, that looks really good. Like, oh, that's so funny. Like, because one of the
That's
things
so
that
funny.
he's like, as we're trying, like, he's very, very focused on like movement and kind of going slow. And he's like, yeah, you definitely tilt forward in a lot of your movements. And so it was like, he's like, oh, look at this one though. Like, like, and so it was just a super funny moment, like where I was like, yeah,
I love this. Oh my God. Sounds like a really cool guy, Like, because when I hear that someone is really focused on like doing everything slowly and controlled when needed, right? Because
yeah,
obviously when you do
yeah,
some more like
not,
dynamic plyo stuff, then yeah.
yeah,
But hearing that there's another person who's also obsessed with
yeah,
like leaning forward, backwards, or something, it's
yeah.
like, okay.
It's interesting. He's from like a personality standpoint, he's extremely well built. Like every now and then you look at somebody like this is somebody that spent a lot of time working out, right? And like how well do they translate stuff to people that aren't maybe exactly like that? And it was maybe our third session. I went in there and he was like, "How you feeling?" Like he always starts with this, "How you feeling?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm exhausted. Like I just haven't slept well the past 2 nights." He's like, "You should just call and cancel." I'm like, I didn't think that was a thing like we could even do. And he's like, I don't ever want you pushing in this way if you're not like ready for it. And so we wound up just doing something other than like a lighter version of everything we were doing. And I
I
was like,
love
oh,
this.
this is I was like, man, I really appreciate your approach because that feels uncommon. So and again, now that I'm super focused on all that, because historically I would be like, oh, I'm just gonna like work through this and and
Because
then
that's what is
pay
on
the
your
price
to-do
for it
list.
afterwards. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly, because like that's what you have in your structure, in your routine. You have to like follow through, right?
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
even like give any thought to it, or like you don't, which is a good thing technically, right? Because like, okay, I have a plan, I'm gonna follow it, but sometimes things happen, work, family, whatever, or like you just need some rest. You need to know how to listen to your body as well, right? Like
Yeah.
what your body's telling you. So I really like that approach, like very uncommon. Unfortunately, I think it's changing slowly,
Yeah.
but yeah, I love this.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not really honestly, I couldn't be any happier than I am. Like I love what I get to do with you. It's super fun. I love coming down here in the morning, or I've been doing it a bunch at night. It's interesting. Like historically, I'm a big morning person, but like I've been waking up early, working because that's like literally this is when my brain's as good as it gets, as early in the day. There's no distractions, and then at night it's like I like finding energy to do stuff, um, which is different, very different for me, but also fun. Like I feel like it's like nice to do that and then
Yeah,
shower and go to bed.
it's funny because I actually had the same realization the other day, because I'm also a morning person and I like to go on like walks, maybe like train, like get everything before, do everything before everyone else wakes up, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like my brain works the best in the morning. So I wake up and like ready to go, like
Yeah.
work. So
Yeah.
also kind of like switch it up a little bit because I used to do, everything in the morning in terms of like my training and stuff. I think just like you, right? Because I know you would always go
Yeah.
to the gym like
Yeah.
super early, but then
Yeah.
yeah. Now we're both
Yeah.
working in the mornings. That's funny. We're the same person.
I love it.
That's so cool. But what I was gonna say, so when do you think this like off season would start? Because what I'm thinking about is kind of I made like a few tweaks, I think, to the program. I have to revisit it, I think today or tomorrow because it's kind of like ending. So I'm gonna see like where we are and everything. If we still kind of like, playing a lot of golf and stuff, I don't want to make too many changes because if
Yeah.
it's working, and I don't want to overwhelm you because now we have kind of like different priority.
Yeah.
But when we start that off season,
Hmm.
let's take um maybe slightly different approach, like see what we can do and what details we should focus on.
Yep.
Definitely improving the depth of the squats, the hinging, all these pancakes. Like I really want to work on that because I think
Yeah.
now we have such a good base. And even if I tell you something, you'll be like, I know this is for me or this will not work for me. So
Yep.
I'm also like really happy about that. It makes my job easier, but also way more efficient for both of us.
Yep.
So I love it. How does that sound? What do you
Yeah,
think?
that sounds great. And so for me, like I'll play a ton in September, a, a little bit less in October, and then November there's a little bit scattered around. But so probably November is like what like a period where I can start doing a lot more. And then once I'm into December, it's like there's almost no, unless I'm traveling somewhere, it's colder than what I like to be playing golf in here. And
Awesome. So
so
let's do that. So I guess like September, I'm definitely gonna add something, I think, or remove. Like I'll see how it goes with the current program, but not too much of a change, right? Because would you say like it is really nicely working for you and also kind of benefiting your other trainings as well at this point? Is there
yeah.
anything that comes to your mind like, maybe not
No, I'm really liking this. The one I was going to mention one thing, like as I started doing more like more focused stuff on squats and things with this other guy, like I've definitely like my legs have been getting sore, but it's
this?
nowhere near as much in the back of my legs. So I can tell that I'm like still my historic, like I do more with the front of my legs than I should be in these movements. And it's like I was telling him, I'm like, dude, I got really sore day one, day two. I was very sore, all good, like the good kind of soreness, but in sometimes in the wrong places. Like I can tell that I'm not, like I feel like I'm not recruiting the muscles or trusting the
Mm.
muscles back here. Like it's just not happening as efficiently as it should. And so this, of course, excites me because I'm like, wow, and then they're like, I'm not using these nearly enough. And going back to
That's
the
a very
golf,
good
like
observation,
that's a huge source
Yeah,
of power in the golf swing that I'm not getting. And so like it's like, okay, then there's I always get excited when I'm like, oh, there's even more for me to go after. And so yeah, it's one of the things
exactly.
that I noticed. Like as I got sore, I'm like, damn, what? Why are my quads this sore when I was just doing squats and stuff? And so, um,
Hmm. How
yeah,
about your, posterior chain? So, I think you are aware, like, of, anterior, posterior, so
yeah,
kind of like your back and the back
yeah,
of the leg and everything.
yeah.
How does that feel? So, do you guys focus a lot on these movements as well? Because, like, for example, with us, we kind of do both, but we've recently been focusing on the especially hip flexion, right?
Yes.
And like
Hmm.
hinging and everything, whilst
Yep.
also being, supporting these exercises and movements with the posterior chain strength. But how
Hmm.
about you guys? Like, do you find yourself like finding it maybe, more difficult to engage the back of your body?
It's definitely in like the back of the legs, like in terms of like my back itself, like that part, I feel like particularly, I mean, I guess I'd say like it's a relatively simple set of movements. A lot of what I feel like when my back and shoulders get sore, like we're doing a lot of like assisted pull-ups, like an
Sick.
extensive amount of this stuff. And I feel that and the movement feels good. Um, but yeah, he'll have me do like a wide, a narrow, and then like
Sick.
a with my hands like this. And just again, like we figured out the amount of support that I need to where I can focus on the movement really well. Like the first day, it was like he was adding bands to this thing for me, and then even like hands on my hips helping as I was getting tired to find like the right spot. And so
I love
that,
this. Focusing on
yeah,
execution first, and then just like, oh yeah, just rep it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so he did a lot of that, like on the squatting RDLs. Like he spent a bunch of time with
Awesome.
like the form of it. He's like, no, this one, right? Like he had me like stand with my calves against a box and be like, don't let your calves
No,
come off the box in this one. Like, let's focus on how well you can differentiate between a deadlift movement, a squat movement, and an RDL movement, which I definitely didn't have. Right. And it's like interesting because on the ones where I feel like I'm leaning back, I just like I lose the trust in it fast. And so he's like, oh, this is what he's like, this is what we need to work on.
I
But
love
having the
this.
box there is super nice because it's like, well, if I fall, I'm just gonna drop my butt onto this box. That's not so bad. So it's been a lot of that. And like I said, I don't, it's like interesting because in my head, I'm like trying to get these muscles to do more on the back. And that, thus far, is a work in process
But
because
I
the other
love
ones are
that.
definitely want to do more.
Yeah, and I love that you have also like in-person support for now, but do you feel like you are also understanding what you need to adjust, or maybe not even like what you need to adjust, but what you need to work on a little bit better? Like, do you
Yeah.
have that one? Good.
I do. I do. It's like funny because like I'll be sitting, like I'll do this later today. I'll do your workout and then what he wants. And I go to do that and I'm like, what in the world is keeping this from like doing what I want it to do? Like, cause I'm thinking about it and it's like not translating. But yeah, I'm enjoying like then I'll just go. Sometimes I'll go and I'll sit on the box and he gave me, he's like, squeeze the muscle, like activate these muscles and then go up and feel that and then just stay with this. And I'm like, God, that's so different than my normal sort of how I normally am. And that gets me thinking about just like used to be like I could go for a walk and my back would hurt. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't actually use the back of my legs when I'm
Yeah.
doing these things. It's just like a very different like a lot of years of not using stuff the way I'm supposed to. So yeah,
Exactly.
it's going great. Really, really good.
I love this. I love this because I think this is also, these three things I would say are gonna come all together, and really, really help you develop even like just not even isolated strength, but really functional strength,
Yeah,
with you having that awareness and like obviously like pain out of the picture as well. You're not worrying about these movements anymore, right? Like obviously being careful and like slowing down because sometimes we just want to like go through the reps and that's it, right? Like sometimes it's
yeah,
just what it takes is just slow down, right? Like spend a
yeah,
little bit more
yeah,
time on this one rep and it's gonna be better,
yeah, definitely. Definitely. I always laugh when I think about, I always think back to like the first workouts and I'm like, I would rate the workout. I'm like, oh, this was easy. And then you're like, oh, you're not, you know, to go slower, have some control. I'm like, God, all of a sudden this got a lot harder. Um, and like that, yeah, that still probably like the single biggest mental shift for me of like, how do I, like get through this thing and like move this weight or do this thing versus like, how do I want to do this and what's the right way to do this? Yeah, I always laugh every time I'm like rating the intensity of a workout because I'm like, God, I like go slower, I do less, and it's harder.
It's so funny. I still remember that first, I think, Loom feedback it was. Yeah, 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 for sure. But how I like to call it is literally like what we want to do is we think that when we increase the input, the output is going to increase as well, right?
Yeah,
But if you just like increase the input, aka for example, you're adding more reps and more and more and more, the output stays the same, right? What we want to do is how do we keep the input the same, but the output
yeah,
increases,
yeah,
right? So for example, if I tell you 5 reps, right? And if you do 5 of them, like da 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 da, like one after another, the output's not going to change. It might even go like decrease or whatever the
yeah,
output is, right? Like get weaker whatsoever. But if you actually do the same, so still 5 reps, but slower, right?
yeah,
The output will get better, right? So I think this is like what I always want to think about. How can I technically do less
yeah,
to achieve more, right? And to
yeah,
produce more.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, this concept is not foreign to me, and that I like when I don't know if I told you when I first went to get my golf swing analyzed, they do like this sensors all over your body and they
yeah.
have you swing and they do like physical screens. And then the guy who's become a good friend was like, he's like, you have like the highest level of effort for like minimum output that I've ever seen. Like you're working so hard at this and not getting the results. And so like that's like constantly he's like, all right, we're lowering the intensity here and you're getting more out of it. He's like, that's where we need to be. And like he's a big his whole thing, he's like one of the best for golf and kinematic sequence and like when
Mm,
does this happen and that happen and he's like, yeah, you try. And I was like, God, I never really thought about it that much, but I have heard people say you always swing really hard. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm swinging really hard. And he's like, well, try and hit one as hard as you can. And so I do. And he's like, that's your same swing you make every time. Like you're so used to that you can't
adding more,
differentiate.
doing more,
Yeah,
harder,
yeah,
harder and
yeah,
harder. Because it's a really difficult concept to like grasp because we very, hardworking, ambitious people, right? Like goal
yeah,
driven, right?
yeah,
If I do more, I'm gonna achieve more.
yeah,
In
yeah,
your head, right? But like
yes,
sometimes actually if you do less, you're actually going to achieve more, right?
yeah,
So it's not really like simple and maybe not even rational, right? For us, but then it does work. You just have to find the right way that works for you,
yes,
right?
definitely. It's definitely not easy, but it makes sense. Like once you're, and so it's like now I just have to stop and think about stuff before I do it. But
Yeah.
yeah, like the workouts I go, it's like I'll find myself like watching myself and like, yeah, this is still too fast. And I'll start and I'll do it again. Like
To actually feel it,
move how
right?
you
You're gonna
want.
do 1 rep, but
Yeah,
feel it. And you're gonna get more than doing 10,000 reps without feeling anything
yeah,
and
yeah.
thinking about something else, right? So
Exactly,
I love
exactly.
this. And
Yeah,
okay, cool. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna revisit the program, like see where we are, um, what we're doing and everything. And but I remember you messaged me, I think that was like last week, right? With this like hip pain. How did it go? What was it? What did you do? And like,
yeah. I just it's weird because I can't figure out like point to anything for like why it got that tight other than I don't know. I know I did something, some combination of things,
you did
but
mention that the past few days were quite stressful, right? In terms of like
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah. It
busy.
was a lot of work, and I do realize that like I haven't been doing as good a job moving my standing desk up and down throughout the day. So it's probably like more of the sitting. I looked and I was like, oh yeah, I'm not loving like how I'm sitting. So I'm like, yeah, but then it was just that just playing and then yeah, probably just stressing things. And so I just made sure to spend a bunch of time on like getting just stretching that area,
Yeah.
moving. like trying to do the movements that feel good into it. Like I love the lunge, like twist thing and
Mhm.
stuff like that for the hip. And so I spent more time on those, just
Awesome.
trying to lose. And then it went back to just feeling the way it always does. Although I think I said the left one is always way tighter than the
Mm.
right one. And so I was just showing this guy who I work out with now also, and because he's like, well, he always wants like an extensive warm up activation before we go do anything. And so I was like, he's like, oh, this is really good. I was doing like a pigeon on a box, and he's like, okay, other leg. And I'm like, just prepare yourself for this. And he's like, wow, that's like a big difference between those two. Um, I was like, yeah, I don't know why this is the case, but it's been this way for a long time. He's like, all right. He's like, let me think about this one for a little bit, and we'll come back with more
Yeah.
on this. But
Honestly, this is what I'm going to address as well, because like now we can go a little bit more into isolating certain things, if that makes
yeah,
sense, right? Because
yeah,
obviously we've been focusing like, taking this holistic approach, which is like step one. But now when we have that foundation and the awareness and strength as well, we can definitely look a little bit more into that, because there might be like many different reasons for it.
yeah,
Like for
yeah,
example, my right side is just weaker and a bit odd, and it's always been like that. So that's why we're also doing like unilateral stuff to kind of match the imbalance a little bit more, right? So like you feel
yep,
obviously like the worst thing we can do is just always doing bilateral things, always working at the same time. Like then obviously the stronger side will be kicking off and taking load of that right side that is weaker, right?
yep,
So we just need to make sure that we always target like this side first and then that side first, match all together, make sure that we do the right exercises to strengthen the weak points, and then we just
perfect.
move like that. So I think that's
Yeah.
what we're gonna do.